Hey guys, welcome to Banter Blitz. Haven't seen for some time, right? Sorry for that. Had a crazy week, but I hope that will compensate it with a nice stream. So as usual, I'm going to play Blitz games against you, explaining everything that is happening on the board. Also add in some analysis after each and every game, trying to actually talk about your mistakes if there are any, and basically make you feel a bit more comfortable about your knowledge of this game. All right, so I can see that there are some people on chat already. Let me see if we have some challenges. Just a second. We should have something. Yeah, we have several challenges already. Just as usual, I'm going to search for challengers I've never ever played before. So here is the first one, Undisputed 29, 3-minute game. I'll accept it. Will be quite interesting, I guess, because I prefer 5 minutes. Within the 5-minute game I can explain more. I have a bit more time. Okay, anyway, 3 minutes is also not bad, right? So the question from YouTube, can we play games? Yes, you can. If you are a premium Chess24 user, you can go to Chess24 and challenge me for a game. Well, you can challenge me even if you are not a premium user, but I will not accept that challenge. That's the rules. So, what do we have here? We have a Sicilian reversed. And I'm really curious what happens if I just don't care about that and play just like in Sicilian. Of course, I'm a tempo down compared to Sicilian, but let's see if it makes any difference. It should, of course. Let's see if my opponent can exploit it somehow. All right, let's put the bishop on g4. So there is another comment on YouTube. Hi, Andrey, happy to see you playing. Thanks for that. Okay, g3 after bishop g4. Just like dragon, but normally in dragon you already have the bishop there. Or the other way around, you try to avoid playing something like this when there is an option to capture the knight, damaging the pawn structure. It's probably not the end of the world for white, but I'm quite satisfied, to be honest. Already here, I feel like my position is getting better and better. So let's just keep on developing pieces here. How old the kid is in the background? Well, there are two to start with. The one is almost 3 years old, and another one is almost half a year. So they're both quite young. Here I will just step back with the knight, and this move already creates a threat to the d3 pawn, so I'm attacking it with my queen, and that's the main drawback of white's approach. That's the main problem if you give me a chance to damage your pawn structure like that. So the pawn becomes very weak, and we may notice that there is no bishop on that diagonal covering it. So I should have good chances just to continue with the direct attack against that pawn. Okay, now if I play f5, where the knight goes to g5 most likely, creating a threat to e6. So I will play queen d7 first to cover e6 square. Also preparing rook to d8 move, by the way. So pretty simple, and I hope efficient. Castling, rook d8. Attacking d3, so how to protect it? I have no idea. Probably I'm already winning that pawn, which is nice. But maybe there will be some tricks if white's queen goes away right now from d1, preparing rook to d1 in response to my queen takes d3. As for the situation on the clock, we have a bit more time than our opponent. What's going on? Queen d2, probably with the idea of queen to g5, but then we have f6, I suppose. Yeah, so let's just take the pawn. f6. So if knight f6, then rook takes f6. So doesn't give white anything, which means we're pawn up. It's a tempo move. Queen has to go away somewhere. I'm not sure there is a good square for it. Let's say if queen goes to g4, there is f5 winning the piece. So like queen h4, we have knight to g6 attacking it, probably forcing it to h3, which is super ugly. Well, maybe we will not even play knight g6 because on h4, the queen is already quite ugly. So I'm not sure that knight g6 is really helpful because queen goes to h3 and then there is queen e6 possibility. So let's see what we can do here. So we're pawn up, right? Which means we can start the conversion gradually. But first I want to improve my queen. My queen doesn't feel like very good. Queen c4 will be a terrible mistake because of knight f6 check and then takes queen. So I would rather do something like this move because I don't see threats. So I have time. And now queen to b3. So the same diagonal like after queen to c4. The only difference, my queen is safe here. So e6 is under control now, which means we can try something like this, right? And now f5 even. And now what? What I wanted to do? Just to go away with the queen, right? Yeah. So I have to be a bit careful with my time because I have only 15 seconds. My opponent also doesn't have a lot. Probably I missed something like knight e2 check. I don't know, but it's enough to win the game here. All right, it was quite exciting, I must admit, especially at the end when we both were in the time trouble. But I believe that white made a mistake playing g3. At least I wouldn't develop the bishop to g2 after that. Having this setup, I would have played something like bishop to e2. But this is also quite ugly. I mean, knight to d4, then attacking that bishop, maybe taking it. So instead of playing a g3, I would have played something else. For example, rook to c1 looks normal, Sicilian move. But okay, we have Sicilian reverse, so why not? Queen to b3 deserves serious attention in this case. So I would have played something like knight to b6, I believe. And then it's possible to play rook to c1. It's possible to play e3, then developing the bishop to e2. If I take in this case, then fine. Pawn structure is damaged, but if you compare it to, for example, Rouser stuff in Sicilian, it's pretty typical pawn structure, and since the pawn is on e3 controlling d4, bishop goes to e2, and it's really hard for black to do anything against that pawn. So it's safely protected for a long, long time. So it's just normal Sicilian position, all right? And if you want to play something like g3, just do it immediately here, all right? And you will get normal dragon stuff here, I believe, with the extra tempo compared to normal Sicilian. Now if I play something like that, okay, you just play bishop g2, and if I take, you take with the bishop, obviously. So that's the idea. Okay, thanks for the game, Undisputed. Let's have a look if we have some more challenges from people I've never played before. So there is Smother's Mate. Okay, no games so far, so I'll accept the challenge. And now it's 5-minute game, so it's a bit more satisfying in the sense of time management, I would say. And okay, people are gradually coming here. That's nice. All right, e4, e5, knight f3, typical stuff for me. I usually prefer Ruy Lopez as white. a6. All right, let's derive from what I usually play in Blitz games. I mean the exchanged variation, and play this line. So Rule up is with bishop a4, but then d3, which is quite popular nowadays. But it's always hard to say which is more popular. The super main line with just castling c3, d4, or this d3, or the hybrid when you castle first and then play d3. There are so many options for white. So this is one of the lines I prefer nowadays because, well, it gives you a chance to go away from well-known theory, get in pretty interesting position, and if your opponent is not aware what to do here, then there may be problems with some pawns and squares as well. So castling. So one of the advantages of having this a4, a5 played already is that there is no knight a5 disturbing my bishop. The drawback is that pawn on a5 is pretty vulnerable in some lines. So let me quickly check if everything is fine with the stream. Looks like that. All right, back to the game. d6. If bishop goes to g4, I want my d4 square protected somehow. Okay, I will just play h3 here because I don't like the idea of bishop g4 followed by knight d4, let's say. Maybe it's possible to avoid playing h3, just saving time for more important stuff. But alright. So bishop e6. Usually I play something like knight d2 against it. So if bishop takes, I take with the knight. Which is maybe not necessarily that promising, but quite fine in my opinion. Okay, another idea behind knight d2 is just to put the knight on c4, from where it can go to e3 a bit later. For now, I'm just keeping my light square bishop on the board, because, you know, it is a Spanish bishop, right? Very important piece. Okay, knight e7, intending to play knight to c5. So I think bishop to e3 should be played. Not very logical after rook to e1. But rook to e1 is more like a prophylactic move, I would say. Just against d5 or f5 stuff. What's the next thing to do here? That's a good question, because I'm not sure what is the right plan here. So first intention, something that comes to mind, is to play d4, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for it, or at least if I'm ready better than my opponent. So black setup also looks pretty solid here. Another plan can be not necessarily a plan, but something we can do here. It's just to move the knight from f3 somewhere and then play f4. For that, of course, we need the rook on f1. So I start regretting that I played this rook to e1. It looks like a stupid idea in general. Okay, I will try knight e2. Even if I'll have to play something like rook to f1. Alright, I mean, I'm not that against. What about f4 now, though? Without additional preparation. Yeah, with the rook on f1, it would have been much better. I could have captured with the rook, for example, still controlling c5 square. Not that it is a big problem, but still not very pleasant. So I hope I can go away, because b3 is controlled, right? So if b3, I just take with a piece with the knight. So the question was, is bishop g5 an idea in this kind of positions? I'm not sure that exchanging dark squared bishops is a good idea here, but who knows. Now I'm curious if I can play d4. Looks very interesting. I mean, let's see. No, d4, just knight takes d4, what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's just step back first. I'm not satisfied with my position at all. But now, I am. So the pawn structure is being changed. And I hope it's good for me. So let's play e5. Of course, my opponent has pair of bishops, but I mean, his pawns look pretty weak. Especially this c5 is quite vulnerable. Maybe it's not a big deal, but still, I like my position now. And bishop to g3. Very typical stuff. Very typical stuff. And e5 is probably hanging even. So I'm going to protect it. Maybe I overestimated the advantages of what I've done compared to disadvantages. I don't know. But let's see. So at the moment I'm just trying to attack what was weakened, right? So it was c5. And it feels like I'm doing okay here with this. But my opponent can, of course, regain the stuff. Feels like my e5 is also quite vulnerable. Let's see. What's going on here? It's already quite hard for me to evaluate everything correctly because I'm really short of time. But nevertheless, it takes, king goes away. Bishop c4, attacking the rook. Then rook takes c5. Yeah, black is having perfect position. My only hope is that a6 pawn. So let's see. Only 35 seconds on the clock. It's quite risky now. Okay, let's take that one. Oh my goodness. I don't know where to go. To d1 probably, because there was rook, queen takes a1. Was a possibility there. Oh my lord. This position is so bad. So I'm lost already, or what's going on here? Yes, I'm lost. Yeah, it's just over for me. Okay, resign. My goodness, I was just completely destroyed here at the end. Super game, Smothers, mate. Super game. Where the things went wrong for me. I think rook e1 was the first step in the wrong direction. I guess instead of playing this rook to e1, it could have been much better for white to try either immediate bishop e3 or maybe d4 or maybe, well, anything. Knight to g5 is an interesting move. But rook to e1 is not logical here whatsoever. But okay, that was probably not so bad. Here, I was thinking of playing something like this, and I was not sure if I'm ready for it, but probably it was a good idea. So like to open up a position a bit, maybe to provoke black to something like c5, which weakens d6. I don't know, because what I have played was not so good. So here, for instance, knight to d4 was also good for black. I believe black is having great position in general. And here, maybe e5 instead of taking on c5. I don't know. I wanted to play something like d4, but d4 is controlled, so it doesn't work. And here, yeah, here black is doing okay. Even more than okay, let's say. Yeah, rook e8 is very nice. Why didn't I play, for example, something like knight to g5? I'm not sure. It was also an interesting move, but I noticed that only after I play queen to e2. But again, I don't think it's really dangerous for black. So even something like bishop to g8 looks completely fine. So then e5 is hanging. Yeah, black is doing good here. So yeah, very nice. Let us continue. So someone else I've never ever played before. So probably Ericsson. Let's play. Accept, or maybe Amadeus. No, I have played against Amadeus already. So accept the challenge from Ericsson. And white pieces. Wow, that was great. D4. Yeah. What do we have here? We have French. So. One of the main lines. What's the next move? Okay, B6. Well, yeah, it's a possibility. Obviously. Bishop to E7. I mean, what if we just play bishop to D3 here? Can it be something? So I don't really want to castle long here. I will just castle short instead. And now F5. That's the idea behind B6. Just protecting the pawn, then playing F5. So after E takes, F6. Even bishop can take. All right. Okay. I'm not going to take that pawn. I would rather keep my pawn on E5, which controls squares like D6 and F6. And I'm not sure that taking on D4 was a good idea, but now I can see this E4 square. Well, what black is doing here makes sense to me. So the question, did I hear a child in the background? Yes. As I said at the beginning of the show, and I keep on saying that, I have two. Right. So Prom Knight asks, Andrey, why have you selected no board highlights and no sound? Well, actually, as for the sound, there was a complaint many episodes ago, probably even 2 years ago or something about that. I have switched it off and yeah, just forgot about it and never used it after. As for the highlights, I don't know. Well, what's going on here? So G6 is our target, but I'm not sure it will be so simple to get there. Though, let's just double rooks along the G file. I don't see any better plan for me anyway. Now I have a protected passer on E5, but black has this amazing knight on E4. Let's see what is more important. Okay, bishop C5. I hope it doesn't create a direct threat, so let's just keep on doing what we have planned. Doubling rooks here. Queen E8 protecting it. Alright, let's also go away with the knight to be able to capture on D4 with the knight. D4 is very important square here. We are blockading D5 because once D5 is not blockaded, it can go to D4 even with the sacrifice. It's going to be very bad for us. Now E6 is very tempting, but I'm not sure we achieve anything with this move. Instead, I want to try this one. So since my bishop is protected, I think I can go there with the queen. Maybe intending to take on G6 at some point. Probably not immediately. Okay. Let's clarify the things with the bishops. It looks not so bad for white, but again, the question is, what's the plan? Probably we can even play b5 at some point. in general, we should try to play on dark squares here. Let's say just blockading everything here, making that bishop really uncomfortable. Well, at least I'm trying to make it uncomfortable. It's really passive, actually. That's only true if my knight remains on d4. But I don't see a problem with keeping my knight there. Okay, this gives me this chance. Oh, I missed that move completely. Stupid me. But probably it's still fine. Looks not so bad. Yeah, could have played it much better. Oops, come on. I'm going to lose this on time, right? Look at this maneuver. It's like in one of the games of Capablanca, you know, where you sacrifice everything but then play e6, king e5 in there. Don't remember who is the opponent. Yeah, my memory betrays me. But that's fine. Okay. So, it was also a very interesting game. At some point, it felt like black is fine, but then the situation has changed. So, yeah, somewhere around this moment when I have played b5, probably it was not even necessary, but for some reason I wanted to have that pawn there to make sure that bishop never goes to a6. I cannot explain it because at that moment I was already really short of time and was making moves mainly intuitively, not really calculating this stuff. But I do believe this position is really cool for white. But here e6 was not correct. For some reason I thought that the next move will be queen e5 check, but then queen came to f6. Was not necessary. Instead, white should have played some like queen h4, I guess. So it was one of the ideas behind queen e1 move. Again, bring the queen to the h file with the idea of something like rook g3, rook h3. So knight probably should go back to e4. And to use the fact that knight went away, maybe I should have tried rook to g3, in fact. Yeah, that was also interesting. And now I can see that I also missed bishop to f5 idea. Yeah, that was probably the easiest way to punish black for moving the knight away from e4. So knight should stay on e4, I guess. But for black, it's quite hard to find a plan here, I guess. So, yeah, bishop is super passive. My knight on d4 blockades d5, and yeah, since that bishop has no play on this a8 h1 diagonal, my king is absolutely safe. I have more space. So this knight on e4 is basically the single reason why black's position is not lost completely. Otherwise, just imagine there is no this strong point, it would be just completely lost, right? But it's hard to do something because the knight alone cannot cause a problem, I guess. Okay, interesting game. Thanks for that. Now it's time to get back to normal order of challenges. And the first challenger today was Super Bohemio. I will accept this challenge right now. I'm playing with black pieces again. I believe it's always like playing with black against Super Bohemio. So d4, knight f6. Knight goes to c3 with the idea of playing e4, and then just as usual for Super Bohemio, the gambit. I'm a bit tired of playing that, so I will try another direction. So Prom Knight says that highlights would be pretty nice. Okay, maybe for the next time I will switch them on. We'll see how that works. It's a pretty straightforward play, right? So e5 is coming. I mean, what should I do here? Just knight to c6, attacking d4, because it's probably the only problem with the what? He gives me d4 pawn if I want. Maybe it's a bit harder than I expect. So knight d4 takes f6, knight e2 takes g7. I have to move my rook and then takes on e2, having 3 minor pieces for queen, which is just good enough. Even great, I would say. I'm not going to play that. It's pretty scary. But if I'm not going to take on d4, then what to do? Because, yeah, position is complicated now. Wow. I was probably tricked already. Or it's better to say I tricked myself here, in this case. Oh, Lord. What to do? Let's play knight g4. But it feels like a completely wrong move. So e6 is not so simple to evaluate immediately. So after e6, let's say I can take on d4. If queen takes g4, I take on c2, check. Then I take on a1. White can take on f7, but king goes to f8. Queen is under attack. My knight is still alive on a1, although having no squares. So most likely it will be trapped there. But I will still have some time before white accomplishes that task. And we'll see. And if white doesn't play e6, there is a threat of just taking on e5, right? Jedi Academy says Ostrovskiy does too less interaction with the viewers. That's the only problem. Otherwise, it would be cool. Well, during the game, I'm focused on the game mainly. And if you would basically attend more of my shows, you will see that sometimes it really depends. Okay, there are some shows where I mostly interact with users and just don't do anything chess-wise. Sometimes I'm focused on the game, but normally you're right. So my goal here, my task, as I see it, is to educate. So I never try to pretend I'm, a superstar. I never try to pretend I'm doing some funny stuff here. So I'm trying to educate people during my shows. Doesn't matter if it is a Training Tuesday or a Banter Blitz. All right. Knight goes to f3 is a bit strange to me. I would have expected something like h3 move. So now I have some time, I guess, to bring my knight to a safer place, but maybe it's an illusion. I'm not sure. Maybe it will be still forced to h6, which is pretty bad. I don't know. So for some reason I want to play a5 to prepare bishop to a6. At least it is a prophylaxis against castling short. Probably white is not even going to castle short. We'll see. But here, I mean, I can try bishop a6 right now, but again, I'm not sure it will give me anything. Yeah, it's a hard position. Hard to evaluate, I mean, and not so simple to play in a blitz game, I would say. So, Jedi Academy says, I saw you a few times and got my impression, therefore. No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, everyone has the right for opinion. And yes, you're right. I'm not really reading each and every comment. Okay, that's true. Now I have a feeling that we can try something like this first. So what I want to do here is to open up a position because I have a pair of bishops. And since my opponent is not castled yet, I'm going to open it even more. So d takes c5 is just the first step. My main intention, since the bishop is on g5, is to play f6. Maybe this will also help me solve the problem of my knight, because my knight will get the f7 square, for instance. So already something, I believe. Rook to d1. All right, it's just one attack, so we just go away. And I think my queen is even better on c8 because now I can go to e6 with further pressure against e5. Let's see. Bishop goes away to f4, correct. Not touching the f6. In that case, the e file would have been opened, and this is just the end for white, I guess, with the king on e1. Now the question is how to continue. So we can play knight to f7. It's the one option. Another one is to play queen to e6, but in that case, I believe white is going to take on f6, trying to exchange queens, which is quite logical here. Knight to f5 doesn't look very satisfying. c6, well, I wouldn't be seriously worried about that pawn. It's not so important, I guess. So I don't know, either knight f7 or queen e6. I don't see a better option here. Well, queen b7 is also an option though. Attacking b2, which is a bit abandoned. Well, let's try that one. I mean, it's interesting. Another idea behind this move is to play queen to b4. Yes, it is an exchange of queens, but it's different stuff because I take with the pawn on b4, attacking the knight, then a2 becomes a target. So it may be considered as an option, I guess. And what's really pleasant, white still cannot castle, which is quite annoying. Well, at least it should be annoying for white. b3, weakening the knight on c3. Can I use it somehow? Not sure. Let's just try this move. So I want white to actually take on f6 because it's not going to happen. But this additional pressure should motivate white. Sense, I mean. And I think we have a problem. It shows that I was disconnected for several seconds. And indeed it was frozen. Maybe now there is also the lag, the typical lag that happens from time to time. So maybe the audio is no longer synchronized with the video. I'm not sure, let me know on chat if you experience that. But position has changed dramatically. So now I think I'm just winning here. Feels like that. So my dark squared bishop just decides. White has weakened dark squares, then exchanged the dark squared bishop and allowed my queen to be active as well as my bishop. So it's lost now completely, right? Rook d2 is not necessary, but okay. Anyway, position is lost now, so let's just win it. What is the right way to do that? Not to lose on time, right? That's the best way to accomplish. I think it's a checkmate, right? Yeah, it's a checkmate. Okay, so what's going on here? Kramnixon says, yes, audio video is a bit off. Yeah, okay. Is it really like super noticeable, or it's still okay? I mean, probably it will be hard for me to restart the stream to fix that. But what's interesting, it doesn't show that some frames were dropped, which is usually the case when there is, you know, a glitch of the connection. I don't know how to evaluate it. So Big Boy G says no, it's okay. I hope it's about the sync stuff. All right. So what was wrong in White's approach? I'm not sure because I don't know the theory here, so I was just playing without any preparation, obviously, and maybe it's already lost somewhere here. So what White could have tried here, something like e6 Knight takes d4, e takes f7, king goes to f8. No, not takes on f7, it's stupid because then the knight is protected. So something like queen to g4, then knight takes c2 check, and then takes on a1. So that's what I wanted to play here. Takes on a1, and if it takes there, then king f8. Something like this. Crazy position with extra exchange for black here, but it's more or less fine. So there are comments. Video and audio are not synchronized. It's true. There is a delay. No, it's not okay, says Alec. Yeah, guys, that's the problem. So once, well, there is a, like, you know, even a momentary problem with the connection, and I believe it was the case here. So for several, like maybe 1 or 2 seconds, I was disconnected. Well, this really affects the synchronization of the audio and video. I'm sorry for that, but probably it's quite hard to change it right now. So well, probably I can try, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it will work if I just restart it, because we're streaming simultaneously to several outputs, and I'm not sure how this will affect all of that. So yeah, let's continue. So some people say that it's fine, it's okay, no problem. So I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look. Olaf is the next. Have not played for ages. Let's accept that challenge. Zila's here. Wow, that's cool. That's amazing. And I'm playing with black against Olaf. I'm playing black. What to try? Let's try something sharper than usually. Let's play c5. And e6. I know it's bad actually, and I believe that it's better for white. It's better to try knight to c3, not c4, because now we have a normal Benoni stuff. But if the pawn remains on c2, I guess it's a much better pawn structure for white. It's possible just to capture with the piece on d5, and then you can have this amazing outpost on d5 square. So let's play g6. Bishop g7. Castling. And bishop to f4. Okay, it's interesting. So can we just play rook e8 now? Is it a valid order of moves for white? I mean, if white just castle instead of playing bishop f4, it's perfectly fine, but I'm not sure I've seen something like this before. What if I play super aggressive stuff, like c4 first? Then just b5. I mean, I know it's probably not the best, but just trying to use that white is a bit behind in development. And this gives me some time, right, to put my pieces on a bit more active positions. Maybe even knight takes e4 is possible. So knight e4, knight e4, and then something like f5, right? Well, let's try that one as well. Yeah, interesting. So still no dropped frames in the stats, which is not true, obviously. Just no synchronization between audio and video. Yeah, that's a typical result for a situation when you have no connection for even 1 second, let's say. So now we have 2 extra pawns, right? I think it was better for white to take on e4. I don't understand why it didn't do that. Now I believe it's just a very good position for black. Okay, let's just play bishop b7, attacking d5. One more pawn is under pressure. I was also about to play queen f6, but then after bishop e3, the knight is protected. Of course, you can think of rook takes c3, pretty typical stuff for this pawn structure. Sometimes it happens even without much compensation, so simply positional exchange sacrifice. But I don't see a reason to sacrifice anything since I already have very solid material advantage. So I'm just going to convert it. Especially after a4 and b4. I mean, my pawns are amazing. But now after knight to e2, if I want to keep my bishop on the board, I have to go away. Which is not a big deal, but I lose b4, right? I don't really like it. So maybe I should either play queen f6 now, and if knight c3, then queen takes c3, but then bishop d2. Okay, so it's not so good. Maybe we should sacrifice the exchange here, but then... Okay, queen takes and c4 is under pressure, which we can solve with the bishop takes d5, though. Risky, but interesting, so let's try it. So prom night says that it's impossible to watch the show. All right, as I said, in case of, for example, only one output, I would have easily stopped the show and, well, restarted it, so to say. But in this case, I don't know how this will affect all the outputs. So for the next time, I will just clarify the things. With the technical support, I will ask what is actually happening if you restart in this case, and we'll see. Okay. So bishop e6, queen there, then d5. Looks good, right? So 3 pawns, 3 connected passers for the exchange. Should be just good enough to win the game. Okay, after this game, I will try to restart the stream. But I tell you that I don't think it's a good idea. in this case. Meanwhile, we have absolutely winning position, but have no time at all on my clock, so only 26 seconds. But yeah, should be still fine for black here. Yeah, I could have played it much better, obviously. Just misplayed it. For sure. Still looks like a winning position. Oh, queen f7. Missed that completely. Feels like I'm still fine, even here. After that blunder. Queen takes. Goes back. Oh, queen h6 was possible. Obviously. Just making some random moves. Trying not to... Okay, I lost it anyway. On time. Alright. So... Actually, it's only the video view out of sync. Sound and board are in sync. Okay. So... Not sure how is that possible. Well, probably it's possible, right? Because... yeah. There may be some delay in... yeah, the transmission of the video from my camera. Okay, so... I will not risk it restarting the stream right now. Sorry for that. So I would rather speak to tech support after the stream and ask what to do in this special case. For now, I'm just going to play one more game and then we'll just finish it. Okay. The guy from United Kingdom I've never played before will accept the challenge. So modern defense, I believe, or maybe with the transposition we will get some perts. '97 allow me to play h5. Okay, let's play h5. And even h6 is possible now. Let's play h6. Bishop to f6. All right, knight f3 now. And I think that black will have some problems because of that pawn on h6 and this bishop on f6. It's a bit vulnerable to my knight d5 move at some point. And if black plays something like knight to e7, it's going to be pretty ugly. But c5, well, this looks terrible because I can play knight b5, attacking d6 twice, and I don't see how to protect that pawn. So Zil says it's almost perfectly in sync now, a fraction of a second off. Okay. So maybe we'll play even more games than one. Bishop e7. I don't think it helps, so let's just take on d6 with check. Yeah, we'll definitely play a bit more because this game is gonna be finished quickly, I believe. So pair of bishops, extra pawn, and simply overwhelming position. Knight to h6. Okay, bishop takes h6. That's strange. Okay. Nothing to comment here, so c5 is a terrible mistake. Weakening d6 and basically losing the pawn immediately. After knight to b5, well, the only try is to deflect my knight is probably to take my knight on c3, so to do something like this. But even here, if I take on c3 with the knight, I don't have probably extra pawn immediately. I still have amazing position, but I can even take with the pawn here, and again, I'm winning this d6. So c5 is a bad move, which is unfortunately just the decisive mistake. Okay, gonna play Santi next game. And I'm playing with white again. e4. So Santi, are you here? Are you there? What's going on? Yeah. Okay, abort. Prom night is next. Accept. White pieces. e4. Should have played before, right? Yes, we did. And e5. All right, knight f3. Yeah, crowning student checked the Twitch. There will be no synchronization. So I have noticed that it's always like that. If you lose it, I mean the connection for even just a fraction of a second, there is no synchronization anymore. That's a problem. But for the next time, I promise I will consult the, well, we'll try to talk to tech support to ask how to restart the stream in this case. I know how to do that safely if you have only one output. For example, YouTube, you can restart it easily. So you just stop the stream, but not stop the event you're streaming to. And it's just completely safe. And then you just come back to streaming to the same event. There is a pause for some time, but it usually helps with the synchronization, at least during the live stream. The resultant video is not synchronized after that, but the stream is actually fine. But what to do if you have several outputs, how to do that safely, I don't know. b6. Preventing me from playing c5, I guess. Let's play h4. Crowning student is going away. Sorry for bad experience, and see you next time. Thanks for joining. And f5 allowing me to play knight to g5. That's pretty interesting. Now my knight can go to e6. That's a big problem for black. Should be, at least. And I can play just knight e6, right? Attacking the bishop and preventing the king from castling. It looks like a good position for white. And h5 is also coming. Pretty annoying. By the way, this is the point behind exchanging light squared bishops. So whenever there is no light squared bishop on the board, black should be super careful with this f7, f5 move. It weakens e6. It's not the case in King's Indian defense, let's say, when the bishop is still on the board, because it controls e6. Here it is, as we can see. And yeah, this position is quite bad already. I'm not sure if it was a good idea for me to force the matters here, but it shouldn't be bad either, I guess. So just trying to be a slightly more aggressive here, because opponent's king is definitely not ideal. All right, what to do now? Let's just take on e4. Well, probably black is doing not that bad here, compared to what could have happened, but still, I feel like my position is much better. The only question is how to prove it. I definitely want to keep my knight on the board. Maybe play something like bishop to e3 at some point, exchanging that knight on d4. For now, though, black should find a good square for a king after this check. And think of pawn g6, which is under pressure. King goes to f6. This is weird. Knight takes h7 is possible now. Should be just lost for black. Okay, so now bishop to g5 check. Looks like something really simple and efficient. And I don't know, queen g6, queen f7, so I'll just take on g6 with the pawn. Should be good enough. So 2 extra pawns, king is still very bad. Just a lost position for black. And you know what? I'm not against the queen's exchange because I have 2 extra pawns for nothing. So the question is how to convert this advantage in the most convincing way. So g6 is my power here. Okay, so Let's just centralize the king first. And connect the rooks at the same time. And now I suppose knight to f6 check is interesting. So trying to bring my rook to h7. It's happening here. And now just g7, rook h8, something like this, I believe. It's pretty simple. And I don't see why it should be bad. g4. Attacking the knight. Now let's see. I don't have to be in a hurry, so rook to h1 and so on. Yeah. It's probably not so simple as I expected it to be. Alright. Yeah, I could have played it much better than I did, just as usual. Super bad technique, but my opponent also made a serious mistake. And now it's over. Okay, but position was decided many moves ago, of course. I mean, after I landed on e6, it was basically over for black. So don't forget about the weakness of e6 when there is no light squared bishop on the board. Okay, so big boy g is the next. Playing with black pieces. d4, knight f6. So let's see what we have here. Okay, knight to c3, Verisov or what? Yeah, just Verisov. e4 is also an option. The favorite choice of Super Bohemio. But okay. So let's play a6. c5 is probably an option as well. But for some reason I like to protect the b5 square in Blitz games, just to avoid annoying surprises on that square, especially when the bishop is on f4 immediately. After that, knight b5 is quite annoying, potentially. But maybe it's an overstatement. Maybe it's just fine to play c5 immediately there in that position. Now it feels like I have to play against c5 pawn. If I play e5, there's bishop g5, and d5 will be under pressure. It could be just a serious problem for me. So instead, I'm going just to play this modest e6 move. Attacking c5. Since white's queen is already on f3, there is no knight to a4 move because of queen a5 check. Which means I can basically regain the pawn. But again, there is a problem in the center. So my queen is on d8, rook pins the d5 pawn, so e4 looks like an absolutely valid option for white now. And I'm not so sure what to do against it. It's kind of annoying. So should I play something like bishop d4 now? It's pretty weird. Knight to d4 is a tempo move. Queen goes to g3 after that. Let's say knight to h5, attacking the queen again. So maybe knight to d4 is an option here for me. But But what if queen goes simply to d3? I have no idea. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, in this case, I can play knight h5 and take on f4. So I would have expected something like queen d3. I think that was the most annoying for black after knight d4 because I didn't see what to do next. Knight on d4 is super vulnerable. But now it is sort of justified what I've done. Because I can grab the bishop, right? I can also consider just taking on g5, exchanging queens. What is better here for black? Which path to take? Not so simple choice. So even after exchanging queens, let's say, I may be in danger, especially in the center. But after taking the bishop and queen takes f4, I also don't see the next move for me. Because ed5 is a threat, taking on e4 is super dangerous. Yeah, hard position. But I will take the bishop. Let me win says take on f4. Yeah, that's right. You know me perfectly. You know me perfectly. So I should definitely sacrifice some material here. But how to do that correctly? Good question. So white's capture on d5 is not the end of the world, after all. The problem is that the knight will be hanging on d4 after that. And I don't see a good square to go away with that knight. And playing like queen b6 now is also giving white a knight a4 option. Yeah, not so simple. Not at all. Maybe just queen e7. I don't see a better option for now. Preparing e5 move. So if white captures on d5, alright, I will just play e6, e5. It will be a pawn down, but at least I will have this knight on d4 protected, which is already some sort of compensation, I guess. Yeah, but it's not for a long time, I guess. So we should come up with something rapid on the queen side, otherwise our position is just lost. Okay, let's play b5. And yeah, it's just a bad position, I would say. It doesn't matter what black does here, it will be quite hard. So I'll just play rook c8, maybe creating some threats on the c file, but I don't really believe in the power of my counterplay here. So let's probably base our play on some tricks. Maybe pretending we have some real counterplay, but it's obviously it's not true. It's just not true. And this is quite strange to me. I would have expected simple knight c5 followed by c3, attacking the knight on d4, and I was not sure where to go with that knight. It could have been trapped. But white decided to give the extra pawn back, which is good news. And now there is another super blunder. My queen is protected, so I'm now a minor piece up, right? And is a win. The only concern is the time on the clock, but I guess 40 seconds should be just good enough to win the game with the extra minor piece. So let's do it. Let's win this game somehow and maybe play one last game. Okay, let's bring the knight to f4. Let Me Win says that Andrey and time won't be friends. That's true. Well, of course, when I play simply for myself, I play much faster because I don't have to explain the stuff, right? And what I'm trying to do here is just to explain as much as possible. That's the thing. That's why I'm constantly in a time trouble, even though I play 5-minute games. Well, if you don't like it, I mean, I can play much faster each and every game, explaining nothing, and just beating each and every one. This can be also a possibility. But I believe for those who follow my streams for several years now, I guess it's pretty typical stuff. And for those who think these streams are boring and so on and so forth, okay, good luck with other streamers. There are lots of other guys, okay? You can choose from many others. So just find content that feels good to you. "15 seconds on the clock. Not so much, but as I said, just good enough, I believe. All right, but we have to play some normal moves here to win the game. What I'm playing here is not so good, but good enough to win the game. So there are some other comments. It's not necessary to excuse yourself. Yeah, I'm not really excusing myself, even if it feels like that. I mean, I know what I'm doing here during my streams, and I'm not going to change, even though some people are leaving some, at first glance, not very pleasant comments. But to be completely honest, I don't fucking care. All right, so probably one more game. Let's play the last game for this time. Here is Pyrenees Vloga. Have we played before? No. So I will accept the challenge. And it's funny to read like the video and audio are not in sync. Well, yeah, I know that, guys. And I'm not going to repeat. It is each and every minute. So for now I can do nothing. Next time we'll see how to restart the stream safely for several outputs. All right, we have already had this earlier today against Smother's Mate, was that right? Yes. And it didn't go well actually for me. So in this game I will try a slightly different approach, which is probably not good actually, but we'll see. So just the same, but with the bishop on e3. And my opponent decided to take on b3 here. d5. Okay. It feels like black has solved the problems already, but it can't be true. It can't be so simple for black here, because there are some weaknesses that will be there for a long time. So we can take on d5 now, simply, but I don't think it's the best option which exists here. I would rather just protect the pawn on e4 this way. I mean, my bishop is not trapped after d4, I believe. I can just go to g5. There's still that square possible to occupy. But if black plays something like d4, d takes c4, there will be c4 square available for my knight. That's important. And h6 prepares d4, so now it is a real threat. And that's a good question how to react. So we can play something like f3, but this week has a lot of dark squares. I don't really like it, but it may be still possible and playable and normal. We can also play bishop c5, which I don't think the best move here. Well, let's try f3. I'm curious. I mean, sometimes I'm experimenting with some stuff in Blitz, not necessarily in the opening stage. Also making some decisions I would be really nervous about in the real game, let's say, just to see how it works. Because sometimes, you know, you play a tournament game, you think the move is bad and you just skip it because you try to avoid the time trouble. And maybe it's not so bad, actually. Maybe it's an exception. Because normally, yeah, you wouldn't like to weaken your position this way. But maybe in this exact position, it's not that critical. But you never know unless you try and get some experience, right? If black doesn't find a way to punish me for it, well, I just have super solid position in the center. Now I have this c4 square, which will be an amazing spot for my knight. And I think I have pretty good pawn structure for dark squared bishop. Now though, black wants to bring the knight to f4, so I'm going to prevent it. Just g3 controlling f4 and also controlling h4, because black was going to play bishop h4, exchanging dark squared bishops, in which case I would have had serious problems with my dark squares. After bishop g5 though, I have this move. Knight on h5 is hanging, and bishop on g5 as well. Alright, so black is gonna have some compensation. Now it's a question which piece to take. I believe it should be knight, because knight attacks the rook, but I'm just going to check for a few seconds. No, of course I have to take the knight here. And simply go back to f2. Now knight f3. Queen g4 was also nice. So extra minor piece. Excuse me. And yeah, I don't see a sufficient compensation here because black's pawn is doubled on the f file. And yeah, my king is absolutely safe. I can play knight c5 now. I can play e5, I think. e5 is also an option. Should I play just e5? Yeah, let's play e5. If knight takes e5, then knight e5, queen h4 check, king f1, I'm fine. Knight comes back to f3, everything is covered. 2 extra minor pieces in that case. So, yeah, pretty safe there. Let's play queen e2. Supporting the pawn on e5 and preparing the rook to g1. And now I can take here with the knight, because my queen jumps to h5. And it's over for black, right? Just a checkmate. Nice game. Nice game. Okay, so what went wrong for black? Well, basically there was a serious blunder. Bishop to g5 was a wrong move, of course. And I think that playing d4 here was also not the correct decision. Instead, I would have tried knight to h5 immediately. Preparing bishop to g5 or bishop to h4, in which case I don't have g3, by the way, because this square is covered by the knight. And if I castle or something, then black may achieve what black actually wanted. So d4, bishop f2, and then bishop to h4. This is the right version of what black has done in the game, in which case white is just not on time to cover dark squares. Okay, that's the thing. All right, guys. Many thanks for being patient and joining the show. this time. Really sorry for my internet connection, for the problems with the synchronization. As I said, I will try my best to solve it. By the way, in the nearest future, I should change my internet provider. I hope that it will also improve the quality of the streams. At least we'll have fewer cases of just losing the connection and losing the synchronization. And yeah. Once again, hope you have learned something. That's my primary goal during my streams. Doesn't matter if it is a Training Tuesday or a Banter Blitz or anything else. And wish you all the best, just as usual. Hopefully see you in the nearest future. Bye-bye.